What's going on, guys? It's your boy Burrow77. We are getting started just a little bit early here, doing a live stream. Josh just woke up sick as a dog today. He has a pretty good fever going, and it just wasn't going to work out for him to be on stream today. So give me a couple of seconds here while I adjust a few things. So that you can see what we got going on here, and just all sorts of stuff. Give me 1 second here. So yeah, big baseball slate today. I love Kikuchi. How do you say his name, Cody? Kikuchi? I don't know. I'm terrible with names. I'm terrible with pronunciation. But yes, that is one of my favorite plays today. I gave it out in Discord a while ago. I have money down on it. I even shared it over in Josh's Discord early so that people could start taking their own looks at it. But yeah, we'll just kind of start here because that's definitely something I'm looking at. So let's get into it. Just a heads up, games with possible weather issues today. Colorado at the Chicago White Sox definitely has rain in the forecast. Cleveland at Kansas City Royals, that's got almost a 50% chance of rain. I'm not sure that game is going to get done. But we will see. You'll have to keep an eye on the radar as first pitch approaches. And then Chicago at Milwaukee, but that one's in a dome, so who cares? Other than that, the weather around the country is looking pretty good, so most other games don't have a major weather concern for us. And the Colorado-Chicago White Sox one definitely impacts us because there is a look I like in that game. Cleveland, KCR, not a huge impact. I didn't have a ton that I wanted to go over on that, but if you guys do, feel free to ask away. I just will remind you that there is a major weather concern there with almost 50% chance of rain in the forecast. Not sure they're going to get that one done. So you see here, I really like today. Pitcher for Toronto, over 5.5 Ks, available at plus 112 on Caesars. I already have money down on this. I shared it with my Discord earlier, and we're playing it. He has cleared this line in 5 of his 8 home starts this season. He has cleared this line in 8 of 16 starts this season overall. And I'll show you the numbers here. Kikuchi. Let me adjust this screen so you guys can see a little bit better. 2024. As you can see, what filter do I have on here? That's away. This is his home and away splits. As you can see, he's even 8 and 16 on the season. When we pull up his home splits, he is just a hair better. At 5 and 8, getting Seattle for 9, the Yankees for 9, Dodgers for 3, Minnesota for 3. Minnesota's pretty good against lefties. White Sox for 6. Pittsburgh, I don't know really what happened that game. It was almost a month ago at this point, so it's not super fresh in my mind. Baltimore, who is K-prone versus left-handed pitching, and Boston, who is the worst K team on the road versus left-handed pitching in the MLB. Now, if you look at Kikuchi here versus the Yankees, you can see that he's over in 5 of 10. There's not a real significant split in his home and away starts. Away, he's 3 and 3. Home, he's 2 and 2. But if we get rid of the home and away starts, you can see that he's been pouring it on against the Yankees recently. His last start of the season last year, he took the Yankees for 7. He took them for 7 at the beginning of the year, back in April on the 5th. in Yankees building. And then on the reverse fixture, when they came up to Toronto shortly afterwards, back in April, he took them for 9. Cat Lee, good to see you. Appreciate you tuning in. So yeah, I just like QG here because New York, and their splits don't necessarily show it, but the eye test definitely shows it. They've been trash against lefties, especially recently, and not just completely elite lefties, even some mid-tier lefties. I know Manena didn't have a great outing, being the last lefty that faced him, but David Peterson of the Mets took him for 8. Max Fried struggled in an outing versus them. Chris Sale took him for a ride for 8. Cole Irvine, who just hasn't been a big K guy, missed his line, only got 2. But then you can see Blake Snell cleaned up, and Blake Snell's been having a ton of problems this year after the trade to San Francisco. He took him for 7. Patrick Sandoval, who's kind of bipolar, hit or miss, not my favorite pitcher to back, took him for 7. Tyreek Skubal, I know he's a Cy Young candidate, but he took him for 12. Alex Wood, who is just a guy for Oakland that'll eat up some innings and get you a starting pitch, took him for 5. And then Kiyuchi took him for 9. So that makes that makes 7 of the last 10 lefty starters to clear their closing K line versus the Yankees. As I mentioned, 5 of 10 over this number going back to 2022. And then both starts this year at Yankees and at home, he has had 7 and 9 Ks. This is a division game, and the New York Yankees did just fall behind Baltimore to be top of the AL East by half a game. And left-handed pitchers have just been cleaning up against the Yankees. They simply do not see left-handed pitching super well. So I really like this number. I have my money down. I'm taking him at plus 112 on Caesars. I think, let me pull up this. I have to resize everything. Sorry. I know I'm doing a stream, but on my end, it's just really difficult to see these if I zoom in too far, but it does look good on stream here. So Kiyuchi, you can get plus 112 on FanDuel now. You can get plus 120 over on DraftKings. You can get plus 115 on MGM. So yeah, this market's starting to drift away, against my initial read, which doesn't concern me too much. I think you can get better value here now. I don't think this line is going to move to over 4.5 with a ton of juice, but it might. Again, Caesars was top of market at plus 112. I was seeing a lot of plus 100s, plus 105s, starting to drift the other way. Not super sure why, but it doesn't bother me. In my opinion, you're just getting a better price point now at plus 120. So I would still go ahead and take it. Cat Lee, you'll tail as well. Let's get it. The score odds for sure. Nice, Cody. I like that. So yeah, I like that play. And then Cody, I know you like to tease guys for all day parlays. This is a guy I wouldn't hate teasing as well, but I am very confident in just his regular line. So that's a play I have cash down on. I'm playing, I risked 0.8 units at the plus 120. I might finish buying out for a full unit of exposure here, just with a little bit better of a price point. But that's what I like. We'll get into some stuff I don't have money down on in a little bit, but we'll start next with JP Sears for Oakland, over 3.5 Ks at minus 120 on FanDuel. Let's just make sure that price is still around for you guys. Minus 102 on FanDuel, minus 110 DraftKings and MGM, minus 106 on offshores. plus 100 on Bet Rivers / Sugar House if you can get bettable money amount of cash down there. I personally cannot. I think I was maxed at $12.50, $13, something like that. So I obviously bought up it was plus 104 at the time, as much as I could on the best number, and then finished rounding out my exposure here on Sears over on FanDuel at minus 102. Again, this is to return 0.08 units. I may or may not buy up the rest of the exposure, just depending on how this market has gone. But you guys are probably asking yourselves, why the hell are we talking about JP Sears? He's been getting crushed lately, just absolutely creamed. And you're right. When we go here and we take a look and we find JP Sears, not versus Arizona, all games 2024, you can see he's been getting absolutely crushed, especially in his last 3 outings versus San Diego, Minnesota, and again at Minnesota. Now, just because he hasn't been having his K stuff doesn't mean he's been pitching incredibly poorly, but 3 walks and 4 walks is definitely not encouraging. He's been getting hit around a good amount, but JP is kind of a contact guy. I expect him to give up hits, especially a San Diego team when Luis Arraez is in the lineup. Minnesota's just playing pretty decent ball right now. But he, 3 and 4 earned runs isn't terrible here, especially against Atlanta, where he did end up getting his K numbers. That's the last time I believe I backed him. He did get really shelled, but that's what happens when you see a starter twice in a row for Minnesota. And again, it's not like he hasn't been pitching super deep into games, but if we come down here and look at his pitch count, other than the game against Minnesota where he got completely shelled, he's throwing his 80-plus pitches, getting into the 90s, and even brushing 100. So the reason I like his Ks in a bounce-back spot here is we filter for his away starts, and you can see that he's definitely been better on the road this entire season, going over in 5 out of 9, whereas at home, he's just really been struggling over in only 2 out of 7. So why do we want to take a look at Arizona? Well, if you look here, Arizona versus left-handed pitching, the last 15 days, number 3 strikeout team in the MLB. Last 30 days, the number 5 strikeout team in the MLB versus lefties. And 2024, the number 17 strikeout team versus lefties. Now, I'm not going to show you all the work I did here with the splits leaderboard for Fangraphs. Again, all of the links to these research tools are right down here below in the video description. It'll take you to Fangraphs. It'll take you to Closer Depth Chart. It'll take you to Savant's homepage, all that good stuff, even my line shopping tools. So I just want you guys to know I did all the legwork here for all of these splits concerning Arizona through Fangraphs on this page for research that is linked right down here in the description below. But instead of wasting your time and making you watch me go through all of those different splits and pretend I know what day it is and try and count backwards 45, 30, and 15 days on the calendar, we'll just go through them right here. Last 45 days versus left-handed pitching, Arizona has a 25.2% K rate, which is a significant uptick versus all pitching and especially versus right-handed pitching. Last 30 days, they get even worse with a 26.7% K rate. And last 15 days, it's even worse with a 28.9% K rate. And I do want to emphasize that this is a small sample size. This is under 100 at-bats. So the statistical relevance on last 15 days isn't huge, but it is kind of relevant. Speaking of sample size and relevance, The only one that I did for the last 45 days versus left-handed pitching at home at 25.7%. Again, just a slight uptick here from the last 45 days versus left-handed pitching overall. In the last 30 and last 15, sample size was just way too small to be significant. So, yeah, that's why I like JP Sears. These numbers for Arizona versus left-handed pitching the last 15, 30, and 45 days have been atrocious, and they've only been getting worse. And then on top of that, I want to show you guys that when we filter for left-handed pitching, Arizona has been getting worked by left-handed pitching. Christopher Sanchez, I bet on him that day. I understand he had a little bit of a rough outing. I can't remember. That might have been a rain delay game too, where he had to pick up the start the next day, and that just always kind of throws starting pitchers off. I can't remember that one. No, that was an Atlanta game. Sorry. But anyway, Sanchez didn't have any Ks through the first 2 innings. He got to 4, had, like 92 or 93 pitches on his arm through 6 innings, and they just didn't feel the need to toss him back out there for the 7th because they had a rested bullpen. But anyway, he just struggled the first 2 innings, and it was hard to get to 5 Ks when you don't get any in the first 2 innings. Mackenzie Gore, who isn't like particularly good, got 7 against them. Patrick Corbin, who's certainly not good, got 7 against them. Jose Suarez, who has been complete ass for the Angels, got 3 against them, cleared his line of 2.5. Kyle Harrison of San Francisco, again, young pitcher, hot and cold, still managed 5 against him, cleared his line at -105. Jose Quintana, who is not a strikeout pitcher by any stretch of the imagination, got 4 against him. Seen Sean Mena, who, again, has good days and bad days, but doesn't have days where he should be taking teams for 10 Ks, and took Arizona for 10 Ks back at the beginning of the month. If we continue to scroll down, it only proves my point at how bad Arizona has been this season versus left-handed pitching. So even though Sears has been in a massive slump and has only gotten 1 K in his last 3 starts, I do like him here in a bounce-back game away where he pitches better. And let's take a quick little look at Oakland's bullpen usage. Not that it particularly matters. They did have an off day. It's a little bit taxed, but I do like Sears here today to go at least 5 full. And I think that he can get to 4 Ks. It's just a really low line at basically even money, and something I like a lot. So I'm going to roll the dice, high risk, high reward, and I'm going to go with Sears here. I did it as a single game. I'm trying something new, only doing parlays for Jays versus Yankees game. All right, Cody, I like that. So yeah, I'm taking JP Sears. Actually, here, let me throw a little banner here at the bottom. I know I gotta get better at doing this sort of stuff during the live shows so that people, when they come in, aren't like, hey, what are we taking? So yeah, I apologize. At least we do have the banger music in the background this time. So we're taking Yushi, and we're taking JP Sears so far. And I'll get that banner scrolling across the bottom for you guys so you can see what we're on. And then my 2 other strong leans I have. One today is a rookie pitcher, Drew Thrope. He's been called up from the White Sox. He's one of their best prospects. And look, I'll be honest with you guys. I'm biased. I'm a White Sox fan. This team's a national embarrassment. And anything I can find that gives me a little bit of hope or reason to watch the Chicago White Sox, I'm typically all over it. And I think Drew Thrope getting his first home start in a White Sox uniform is just going to be fun to see. And it's going to be his fourth ever MLB outing. Again, this is a high risk, high reward play in a game that has weather issues. In a game that has weather issues. So that's why I haven't pulled the trigger and moved on this bet yet. The number is getting absolutely torched. That's a little bit on me, because Colorado is so bad. If this ends up moving to 5.5, I still might dabble, just depending on the price. But minus 133 was the price point I liked. Minus 146, minus 155, 154. 148. Yeah, this is getting steamed pretty good, which means, I have to assume that other bettors in the market either aren't looking at the weather or it's not important to them and they've already done a full weather assessment and decided that it's worth the flyer. So last 15 days, Colorado has a 26.2% K rate. Last 30 days, they have a 25% K rate. Last 45 days, 24.5% K rate. Not huge shifts, but as you can see, it's getting significantly worse every time we cut off 15 days. And now when we look at away, Colorado away, pretty similar last 45 days, but a little bit of an uptick here at 25.2% K rate. Last 30 days, 27.4, which is a significant uptick from the 25% overall the last 30 days when they are on the road. And this is a significant sample size, but this is a very small sample size. They haven't played on the road very much in the last 15 days, but they do have a whopping 36.2% K rate. So the one caveat I will add here about Thrope is that he's had serious walk issues. In his 3 starts, Thrope has walked 2 at Seattle, 5 at Arizona, and 4 at Detroit. So he does need to take care of his walk issues. Home runs at the end of the show. That's not my thing. I did do some home run research on Ohtani because Cody requested it in Discord. And I will talk about that, but I'm not a home run guy. If you really like home runs and you want to watch home runs, I get no payment, no advertising, no benefit for telling you guys this, but go watch DGen, Eli, and go watch Jerry, on their network. The DGen analytics guys, all the fuck they do is look at exit velocity, barrels, bat speed. That's what gets them up in the morning, is making 3 to 5 leg home run parlays, round robins. Occasionally they bet singles, but all they do is look for home runs and wild ass $10 into 10 grand parlays. That's not my thing. I'm not into playing the lottery. If I want to try and change $5 into 10 grand, I go to the gas station and I buy a lottery ticket, a scratch off. What I do here is I look for statistically significant edges on straight plays, and I play one-off straight plays, occasionally some parlays. I have fun. I help help other people build out parlays, and I'll do same game parlay stuff for promotions here. But what I talk about mostly is one guy to do one thing that I think I have a significant edge on, and I can make money betting singles. That's my jam, and no disrespect to anybody who bets a different way. That's just what I have had 4 years of success doing, and I have the data to back it up to prove that I've been profitable year on year, season on season, and that's what makes me the most money. When I start getting involved in home runs, it's for fun and it's for entertainment. That's not what I do this stuff for, though. So yeah, I don't mean to sound aggressive or out of pocket. I hope you enjoy the show, and I'm happy to talk about home runs at the end. It's just not my focus because as far as I'm concerned, it's a very, very difficult market to stay long-term profitable on year, season to season. Yeah, that number's torched. Like I said, I liked it here at minus 133. The number is starting to get away from me. Again, I believe it's because people are either ignoring the weather issues or smarter people than me have taken a deeper dive into the weather and gotten confident that the storm is going to miss them there in Chicago. Again, I haven't done that deep weather dive yet. Go ahead, parlay all three. Well, what do I care? It's your money. So yeah, since I haven't seen any other questions come up, I will talk about my last pitching prop that I do have a strong lean on, and that's Logan Webb under his 18.5 outs. You guys know I love Logan Webb. You know that I understand he's a complete workhorse, but we also have to remember the top of this LA Dodgers order is fucking nasty, and it's murderer's row of big bats that you absolutely cannot get caught leaving a hanger on. I know Webb is a sinker ball pitcher. I know he's a heavy fastball pitcher. I know that he just pounds the bottom of the zone and that he's been a workhorse and he's been very, very consistent all season with 4, 5, and 6 strikeouts. And he is actually pretty consistent in going over this outs line as well. But when we dig into it versus the Dodgers, who's a division opponent that he sees a lot of, once. He's gone over once. He's gone 6 full plenty of times, 4, but he's only gone into the 7th once, and that was away at Dodgers Stadium. This game is at home in San Francisco, where he has never cleared this line in his 4 head-to-heads with the Dodgers going back to 2022. And if we look, he only went 18 versus St. Louis. Houston, again, very difficult team to go against. Cleared this on the road versus the Cubs, on the road versus Texas, at home versus the Yankees, on the road versus the Mets. Actually, you know what? Let's get his home away splits here for this. Home. So he has been better at home, clearing this number in 5 of 7 at home. And he's been missing more away, only clearing 4 of 10 away. So if that gives you a bit of a concern, I understand, and this is a high-risk, high-reward play. We can see that Logan Webb, unless he's getting absolutely shelled, is a workhorse that goes deep into games. I just think this head-to-head with the Dodgers and with the advancement of baseball metrics, that him seeing the top of this Dodgers order for a third time, or even a 4th time is just a no-go. You just don't want to give the top of this LA Dodgers order, the first 4 guys being absolutely murderer's row, a guy that's got 92 pitches on his arm. So I think that Webb is going to be hooked here well before he sees these guys the 4th time. So that's my logic here. The pen isn't very taxed, or the pen is super taxed for San Francisco too, because their pen's atrocious and they haven't had the best starting pitching going lately. So their pen is completely torched, and that makes me want to think that Logan Webb is going to go deep into this game. I just don't know how you hang him out there to dry is probably the ace in your rotation against that top 4 of the LA Dodgers order, especially for a third and fourth time through the order. That's just asking to get your ace completely lit up. So I have a strong lean here on Webb's under outs. And that's what I'm going to do. I think I haven't put down my cash yet 100%. So, or even a little bit, but that's something I'm going to do here. Sorry, I keep pulling up Instagram because I have to leave that tab open to stream there through StreamYard during the entire stream. But anyway, I think 132, 133 is a good price here for this very dangerous top of the LA lineup that I just don't think you're going to want Webb to see more than he has to, despite the pen being taxed. So I am probably going to move and put some money down here on that. So that is it as far as I have on picks that I have a strong feeling on. Again, we're getting priced out of the Drew Throat market a little bit. And I need to take a deeper dive into the weather. And I do really like this Logan Webb play. I'm probably going to put money on that here before our stream ends. I do have two sell me this picks for anybody in here that likes baseball and wants to help me get over the hump on why I should be taking these guys. But first thing, before I get too much into stuff I care about, I want to make sure I get the stuff you guys in Discord cares about. And I had questions from Jabuji on Pivetta over 16 and a half outs here for Boston. So let's get into Boston at home, Pivetta outs. So as we can see here, he's only gone over in 5 of 11 this entire season. I don't think he's seen Okay, so he saw San Diego once last year. He wasn't as good of a pitcher, to be honest with you. He's still young and developing. But the San Diego lineup is a little bit tough, especially with a Rise. If he is batting first, that is a very, very tough guy to face. He's definitely been stretching his arm out more, and the manager is comfortable letting him get into the 90s on pitches. And Pivetta at home has been worse than he has been on the road, only clearing his outs line here twice. What are the other notes I took? San Diego bats are really K adverse. Last 45 days, San Diego is not drawing a lot of walks, which is good. And they are in the bottom third of the MLB for batting average, slugging percentage, and OBP. So they're not getting on base a whole ton. They're not getting extra base hits. They're not putting the bat on the ball super well. And they don't have a great batting average. The few caveats I do want to mention here is Pivetta is one of Boston's few fastball-heavy pitchers. And when he gets hit, he tends to get rocked. He gives up 70% of fly balls and is very prone to giving up the long ball. He gives up barrels a pretty high amount. And where I can show you how I got that information is, when you open Baseball Savant, you go to visuals right here. You come down to visual pitcher report. You type in Pivetta. And I'm going to end up having to see. So you can see his distribution of pitches. Fastball heavy guy, which isn't typical for Boston's lineup. As we scroll through here, blah, blah, blah. I've already done a bunch of talking about how that different information is relevant. He throws 54.7% of pitches in the zone, which means guys who sit on fastballs and like to swing early in counts are going to see a lot of in the zone pitches and going to be swinging away. He also paints the corners decently well, a slight tick above MLB average. But let's take a look at his launch angle. Again, when he gets contact, damn near 70% of his balls in play are going for fly balls that have high launch angles. And, you know, this triangle here between 0 and 45% is your hard contact potential home run zone. As you see, this dark red is kind of the no doubt home run zone. This light red is the kind of in doubt home run zone here, depending on your ballpark. But he's given up 10% of balls in play as barrels. Barrels aren't good. Barrels are guys hitting the absolute piss out of the ball. And that's where you're making your hard contact and you're going for home runs. And then if we take a look at his spray chart, you can see here that the majority of his balls in play aren't staying in the infield. They're in here in the outfield. And a lot of them aren't shallow in the outfield. They're out here deep. So the concern with Pivetta on his outs is that as his arm gets tired, throwing fastballs and leaving hangers, he is prone to getting shelled. So if you really like his outs, with the way San Diego's been swinging the bat, I don't necessarily hate it. I'm not in a rush to go his under, and you're having pretty even splits. This is a dick move, by the way, 15% hold on each side of the line from DraftKings, real dick move. Same with 14% here, and then almost 20% by MGM. Standard is minus 110 splits. So dick move on keeping the hold on what should be a minus 110 split on either side of the line here. So look, it's not that I don't like Pivetta. I'm not rushing to the board to take his under, but I do have some hesitations on his over. If you're in here watching, Jabuji, let me know why it is you like Pivetta, and if you can give me a little bit more reasoning other than what I see, I'll be happy to continue kicking this idea around with you. Until then, I am going to move on to Yerrrrr outs, who you also requested. Yerrrrr is a fastball heavy pitcher, especially at the top of the zone. That becomes problematic because he gives up 68% of fly balls and is prone to giving up the home run ball. Again, we'll go back here to pitcher visuals to show you how I got there. You can see fastball heavy pitcher. Cutter is just a variation of a fastball with some movement on it. And if you look at this chart, you can see that the majority of his fastballs are coming in high, top of the zone, middle of the zone, and then they kind of stop and break off here in this bottom third of the zone. That's where you're going to see more of his junk pitches and his cutter. Continuing to scroll through this. He has good control with pretty much all of his pitches, except his sweeper. He's a little reckless with, but that doesn't really matter. So again, he's 50% in the zone, which is right around MLB average. Again, right around MLB average. Ton at the top, at the edge of the zone. This is where he does really well at painting the edge of the zone. So if you like him for strikeout stuff, but again, launch angle, he's a fly ball pitcher, 67.9%. I rounded up to 68%. And look at all of this stuff in the problematic triangle. He gives up long balls, 10% barrels. Again, now Twins are playing who? Sorry, I have to go back and look to see who the Twins are playing. They're on the road in Seattle. I can't remember off the top of my head what Seattle's park is like as far as home run and there are different places in the field, whether or not it's easy to get out of that park. So I just don't know off the top of the head. And the other thing that gives me a little bit of concern is Ober is coming off of a complete game where you saw 30 batters. A perfect game is 27 up, 27 down. So only 3 guys either got walks or hits against him, which is mad impressive. And he only threw 89 pitches to do it in a complete game. That is absolutely reckless. And he had significantly better splits on the road, over in 5 of 9. I didn't do a ton of research into Seattle's walk numbers and stuff like that because Seattle is Seattle. So when we get here, I'll show you guys Ober at home, not so good when it comes to outs. Away, significantly better. Pittsburgh, I have no idea what happened there. It looks like he might have just gone through a little bit of a rough patch here. Yeah, he definitely went through a little bit of a rough patch, facing the likes of Cleveland, Texas, Kansas City, Yankees, and everybody there but Pittsburgh is a pretty good team. How do you do versus Seattle? So he didn't do well at home versus Seattle this year, and going back to 2022, the only time he's cleared it versus Seattle was on the road, which makes sense with the data we're seeing for him from this season. Let's extend this out a little bit to the end of last year's season. It's not super great. It's okay. It's just okay. Let's see what the price point is here. Minus 135. There's got to be a better number out there. Minus 102. Minus 115. At minus 102, I don't hate taking his over. I could definitely get involved in Bailey Ober's over 17.5 outs recorded versus Seattle today on the road. So I'm going to leave a note here. So I'll turn this into a bit of a lean, and I will shout out Jabuji for coming up with this idea from the Land Your Bets Discord. Free Discord that my buddy Josh runs. He would be here if he wasn't sick as a dog. So yeah, check his stuff out. And then last but not least, we'll get into Shohei Ohtani's home run here. So if you're still around, Adriano, this is the only home run prop I've looked into. And Cody requested this pre-show in the Discord. So Ohtani's homered back-to-back nights, back-to-back games. He's homered in 3 of his last 4, and he's homered in 4 of his last 6. That said, Webb is a sinker ball pitcher, and he is elite at inducing ground ball contact. He doesn't like to give up the long ball. He keeps the ball on the ground, and it doesn't tend to leave the yard on him. He can leave some hangers now and again, and this ties into why I am leaning Webb's under outs. It's because with how hot Shohei Ohtani is, I don't think that the Giants are going to want him to see Ohtani a 4th time, or maybe even a 3rd time, just depending on how the outing's going. And that's why I'm leaning Webb under outs. That said, San Francisco's pen isn't good, and it's super gassed. So if we get if I get my Logan Webb under outs. I think Ohtani might have 2 looks at San Francisco Giants relievers who suck, and he might take them yard. I think it's going to be difficult to leave the yard on a Logan Webb pitch, though, because as we've talked about before, and I'll pull it up here again on Baseball Savant to show you, Logan Webb is a sinker ball guy who just pounds the bottom of the zone and makes it very hard to get hard contact, to get barrels, and to leave the park with his stuff. Just look at this spray chart on the bottom of the zone. His changeups are low speed. It's hard to get barrels and exit velocity on low speed pitches. His sinker balls, again, they're coming in kind of all over the zone here. But when you're throwing sinkers, that means they're moving down, and it's just hard to get the bat underneath them. His sweepers are all bottom of the zone pitches here. And when he does use his four-seamer, it's always high and it's rarely in the zone. He's got really good control, too. If you can't tell by these groupings, he's got really, really good control of his stuff, which is what makes him one of the most consistent pitchers in the MLB. And again, look at this stuff on the edge of the zone. He just completely pounds the bottom half of this zone. Here's his spray chart. Most of his stuff's ground balls. Here's his barrel chart. When he does give up stuff that is high, it is a barrel, and it does go long. He can give up the home run ball. That's a fact. But when you look at his spray chart around the MLB park, majority of his stuff is right here in the field of play. This stuff all right here is super easy pop outs that every professional baseball player is going to turn into an easy fly ball out. And all of this stuff in the infield, it's doing what Logan Webb does best, and that's inducing ground ball contact and letting his field work and his defense turn double plays. Because Webb will give up hits, especially if he doesn't have his best stuff and he's not working the Ks. He's perfectly fine giving you singles day in and day out because he knows he can induce ground ball contact, and he's got a good defense behind him that can turn double plays. So, again, Shohei's red hot, and I'm not going to get disrespectful on Shohei Ohtani. Let's take a look at his home run numbers and see if it's even worth playing. That's definitely not how you spell Ohtani. Ohtani. Ohtani, okay, so plus 430, definitely a playable number, plus 450, plus 375. So yeah, I mean, unless Ohtani's getting rested, he's got an insanely good number here for a home run. If you like him to stay hot, and on a guy that's normally around plus 260, plus 280, getting good value because of the pitcher he's facing. Because Logan Webb is a ground ball contact guy. So if you want to take Ohtani for a home run today, you're getting one of the best prices you've seen on the market in a while. And I'm not going to try and talk you out of it. Home runs just aren't particularly my thing. So if you're still watching, my brother, I'll talk home runs with you now, but I'm not going over every single game. If you want me to look into somebody's home run stuff for you, I will happily do it, and I'll show you how to do some of your own home run research. But I'm not going through this entire board and picking out home run plays. So I apologize, but that's just not what I'm good at. So I'm not going to go there. Any other questions from you guys? Otherwise, we'll get into some NRFI, SFRI leans. I didn't love NRFI or SFRI today, to be completely honest with you. The pitching isn't ideal. And there's just some other stuff going around here. Let me copy and paste this so I can just... So I can see this while I move away. Get into... So Yankees, Toronto, no runs first inning. Stroman's been really good at not coughing up runs in the first inning, away in particular. He can get smacked around at home a little bit, going 12-4 overall on the season. But all 4 of those runs in the first inning coming at home. He's 8-0 on the road. Kiyuchi is definitely not as good at home. He's 4-4 and 10-6 on the season. So that data makes you want to lean yes FRI just based on the pitcher. Yankees last 10 games are 7-3 as an offense, 28-17 on the road. So they're definitely leaving the park a pretty good amount, or not leaving the park, but they hit better than the MLB average for runs in the first inning, away and overall. Toronto at home, their NRFI record is absolutely atrocious at 33-5. And overall, they are 69-12. So they just don't hit in the first inning, even though they're 8-2 over the last 10 days. So implied probability based on team performance is about 52%. Whereas when you just look at the pitchers, they like the yes FRI. And for the price point you're getting, let's double check that price point. Yankees, Jays, first inning runs. You guys can't see any of this. That's good enough. Minus 108. I think it's a good price point for if you're like me and you're riding the left-handed pitchers staying hot against the Yankees, and if you think they can get through the first inning scoreless here. Minus 108, I think, is a pretty good price point to be looking at. So definitely a competitive number there. So that's why I do lean Yankees, Toronto, NRFI, despite some of the pitching data on Kiyuchi. Again, I just know for a fact that the Yankees get dusted by left-handed pitching. I've seen it too many times this season. San Diego at Boston, I lean yes FRI. That's because Vasquez is 2-3, giving up in 5 home starts. He's given up 3 runs in the first inning. Fuck. Apologies. It's nice out. I have a lawn crew here for the apartment. Sorry about that, guys. The lawn crew is here for the apartment. So I had to close my windows so we don't get that mower noise. But as you can see, Vasquez, 2-3 at home this year. Not super good. 4-6 overall, giving up runs in the first inning. Pivetta at home is 3-2 and 7-4 overall, making yes FRI probability of just about 74.4%. Now, if we go to the offenses, I know Boston is decent in the first inning. A little bit better at home than they are away. 28-13, 9-1 over their last 10. San Diego away is pretty decent as well. 23 to no, 16 to yes, 59% versus their 59-26 overall. So 16 of their 10 games with runs in the first inning have occurred on the road. That is a nice percentage boost. And again, Boston's record for runs in the first inning is 13 out of 23. So 3 more runs in the first inning for them at home. The Green Monster definitely comes into play. And the implied probability here does lean yes run in the first inning. So let's go ahead and check the price point here. Minus 125. Not in love with that number. It's okay. I don't know if I want to lay that kind of juice on a yes run first inning. Even with these pitchers' history over the last 10 games, the offenses have been a little stale. But, I think 125 is still decently playable. Next up, we have Colorado versus the White Sox. I already told you guys I like Thrope. He doesn't have a lot of data either. I'll get into the Colorado stuff. I just want to pull the game up so we look at the price point before we even decide if it's worth it. Minus 115. Okay, so that's a playable number. I leaned no run first inning here. Again, Thrope is going to have very little data for us. Sox are 8-2 over their last 10 games, 34-8 at home, and 68-15 overall. Whereas Colorado is 31-9 on the road and better at home, 55-25 overall for the season. So 16 of their 25 runs in the first inning have come at home. They definitely struggle more on the road away. And then Dakota Hudson has a very nice record, season long, home and away. Away, he is 6-0, 1 yes. And overall, he is 13-0, 2 yes. Drew Thrope is 2-1, but like I said, it's his first ever home start. And the guy's got good stuff. Again, he's a prospect. He's a rookie. This is anything to do with Thrope is going to be high risk, high reward. But I do think at minus 115, that is a price point I may or may not get involved with. Houston versus the Mets. Houston absolutely rakes left-handed pitching. So, I'm not even going to get into this super far, but Q is not a hard-throwing lefty. He's not a lefty that gets strikeouts. He gives up a ton of contact. He's just a guy. He's a rotation guy. And Houston just completely rakes left-handed pitching. I think they only have one dude in their lineup that strikes out at over a 20% versus left-handed pitching, unless they've had an injury or something in the last couple of weeks that I haven't been paying attention to because of Euros. And last but not least, Chicago versus Milwaukee. Yes run first inning. Again, James Talion is not super good on the road. 3-0, 2 yes out of his 5 games. 9-3 overall this season. Colin Ria is absolutely terrible for the Brewers. 2-5 this year at home, 6-7 overall. And then let's go to the offensive record. Cubs are 8-2 in their last 10, 34-8 on the road. So they're definitely significantly worse on the road than in their own stadium. The team data isn't backing this up nearly as much as I'd like it to. 7-3. 29-8 at home versus 60-21 on the road. Definitely better on the road for Milwaukee, but this is a divisional matchup. So I do think that both of these teams look to get after it early against 2 pitchers that are poor in the first inning. And at minus 105, I think that is a pretty strong correlation and a nice price point with starting pitcher data. So I like that at minus 105. And that's kind of it. That's all the questions I got from Discord covered. That's all of the stuff I liked that I wanted to, oh no, we'll get into the leans on stuff I wanted to talk about on the sell me this pick stuff. We're getting a little bit long here. And I do kind of want to wrap it up. Christopher Sanchez of Philly over 5.5 Ks at plus 132 on FanDuel. He's definitely better at home. Miami sucks out loud versus left-handed pitching, but Sanchez has been a really inconsistent starter when it comes to Ks. He has a really high ceiling. And so let me show you what I mean by a really high ceiling. Philly is playing at home versus Miami. By really high ceiling, I mean that all of his exceptionally good outings have come at home, where he's ran up 8, 10, 8, and 7 Ks. Oh, sorry, the 7 Ks came on the road one game, but 8 Ks, 6 Ks, 10 Ks, 8 Ks. Struggled versus Toronto, who is pretty K adverse. Milwaukee, who's bipolar, and I have no idea what they're doing game to game. San Diego, 5 Ks. If Luis Ariza was in that lineup, that's mad impressive. Arizona, who doesn't hit lefties super well, but they were on the road. I'm a little disappointed in that outing versus Arizona. And that's kind of why I am looking for a bounce back here after a poor start versus Arizona there, where I think he should have done a little bit better. And this number did open at 4.5, but got completely pounded all day. So let's just see what the numbers are sitting at now. I know Ohtani's not pitching. So we're starting to lose. People are still continuing to take this, even as it drifts up. So if you want to get in on this price point, now is probably the time to do it at plus 125, where I saw plus 132 earlier. Let's see if that has anything to do with our lineups out yet. They are, and that's why. I sold myself on this. I'm gonna take his case. I'm gonna end up taking his case here, and I'm gonna live with the consequences. Last thing I wanted to mention: Tristan McKenzie, Cleveland, over 2.5 walks. He's over this line in 10 of 15 starts this year, but only over in 2 of 5 away starts. Kansas City isn't particularly good at drawing walks, but they aren't terrible either. They have an 8.6% base on ball rate at home, and over the last 30 days, it's 8.4%. I know Sticks got absolutely shelled his last outing. No filters. Oh, no, he did okay versus Toronto. He got destroyed versus Seattle when I bet on him, of course. So, not outs, walks. He actually has a pretty good history against Kansas City, only giving up 5 walks once back in 2022. So, I don't know. Again, this is a lean I had that I want to be sold on. Especially, this was a plus money number earlier, so lineups have to be out for this game too. Maybe not. Maybe people just took action on it. Yeah, so that was a pretty plus money number earlier. That is no longer a plus money number. Let's double check that. Sticks. Yeah, this is no longer a plus money number. Minus 104. Minus 104 is good enough, but I'm not going below minus 105. So yeah, if anyone wants to sell me on that pick, feel free to do so. Other than that, I'm going to wrap up. Will I be back tonight for CONCACAF? I don't know. I may or may not get involved with doing a stream for CONCACAF. Colombia versus Costa Rica. It's not a super impressive game. Paraguay versus Brazil. If Brazil starts their good lineup, I will probably talk about that game. But we'll see. Cody, I absolutely am doing the Canada versus Chile game on Saturday. Saturday is a good day for those of you who are soccer heads and have been enjoying those streams. 11:10 a.m. We'll be doing Switzerland versus Italy live. 2:10 p.m. we'll be doing Germany versus Denmark live. And then at so what? This is 8. So this will be like 7:15 p.m. We'll cover Argentina, Peru, and Canada versus Chile for the final match of groups there in Copa America. But yeah, appreciate you guys tuning in. Cody, always a pleasure to have you guys. I hope this is helpful. If there's anything else I can do for you, don't hesitate to tag me on Twitter, at me in either of the any of the Discords I'm in. For more information, all my research links are posted below in the description of this video. You can find my Discord link. I think I do a pretty good job at keeping it affordable. $15 a month after I pay my payment processor and tax on that. I really only make like $12 a guy who signs up, but we got a good crew of guys. This is where I share all my information, where I start whittling down my looks, and got a bunch of guys who are sharp and learning how to be sharper and like to bet. So if there's a sport going on that you like to talk about, that's where you can catch us in the Burr Oaks Discord. So appreciate you guys tuning in. I'm going to wrap it up. Oaks out. Doses.